Now on Daf Yud Beis Amid Beis, Vayom Hashvi B'Tov Lev HaMelech Vayayin, Oto Ad Hashta Lo Tov Libe B'Chamra. It wasn't until the seventh day of the feast that he felt satiated with wine. Amarav Vayom Hashvi Shabbos Ava. This was the seventh day of the week with Shabbos. And here you see a contrast between the way the Jews drink and the way the Goyim do. Lahavdil. Jews eat and drink. They begin discussing words of Torah and songs of praise to Hashem. Aval ovdei kocham cha'ochlim v'shosim ein maschilim ela b'divrei tiflus. Divrei tiflus means, low speech. V'chein b'sudasa shaloso Russia, and certainly at the banquet of Achashverosh, that Russia, they were discussing things that are indecent. Halolu omrim madios nos. They would have a debate amongst the goyim at the table during the feast while they got drunk. Halolu omrim parsios nos. There was one group that would say the Median women from Madai are more beautiful. There were those who would say that the Persian women are most beautiful. Amalem Achashverosh. Achashverosh says, Klisha ani mishtamish bo Eino lo Madai v'lo Parsi ela Kazdi. Meaning my wife, Vashti, is neither from Madai nor Paras. She's from the Kazdiim. Ritzonchem l'ra'osa amrulo in. They said, yeah, let's see her. Ubelvad aruma, but she has to be without clothes on. And Achashverosh is really claiming that her beauty is not a result of the clothes, the royal clothes that she wears, the jewelry that she wears. And then they said, you want to substantiate your claim to her beauty, then she has to come aruma. This would be a punishment for Vashti. Why? She would bring the Jewish girls, umafshiton arumos v'osa bahen malacha b'Shabbos. And therefore, mida keneged mida, this was the punishment that Achashverosh ordered her to appear that way on Shabbos, because she used to do this dafka on Shabbos, when she would force the Jewish girls never to work on Shabbos. Hainu d'chsiv achar dvarim ha'ela geshoch chamas hamelch Achashverosh zochares vashti v'asher asosa v'asher nigzar aleha. And the nigzar aleha is a reference also to Gzera up in Shamayim. It's an allusion, Shem Shasokach Nigzar aleha, just as she did to the Jewish girls, and that was the Gzera upon her. Vatma'ena Malka Vashti, she refused. Michte Pritzasa Havoy, she was a woman who was full of pritzus. The Omer Marash, namely Divrei Avernis Kavna, as we discussed earlier on Omer Aleph, is my time alo asoy. Why didn't she appear as he had wanted? Omar Rabbi Yotzi Bar Chanina Malamish Parcha Batzaras broke out in leprosy on that day, and that's why she refused to appear naked. The Masnisa Tana, according to the version in a Brisa, it was taught that Ba Gavriel ve'asala zanav, and the angel Gavriel came and she grew a tail. Like Tzofa Melch Ma'od, the king became greatly incensed because she refused to show up and comply with his wishes. And this was like an act of rebellion against the king. Amai Dolka Be Kulihai. Why was he so angry? Amarava Sholchale, because she Vashti sent him a message. Bar Ahur Yase, the Abba, you was a stable boy in my father's stable, in Belshazzar's stable. Aval lekabel alpha chamra shasi below Rav. My father would drink wine, the equivalent of what 1,000 people would drink, and he never got drunk. Who Gavra, and that man, meaning Achashverosh, is tate bechamre. He became foolish in his wine, and upon hearing this, Miyad v'chamoso bara bo. Immediately, his anger burned within him. Vayomer HaMelech l'chachamim. This is already in Pasuk Yud Gimel in Perek Aleph in Megillah Esther. Man chachamim rabbanon. Who were these chachamim? These were the rabbanon. Yodei itim. That's how the Megillah describes them. They know the time. Sheyodim li'aber sham l'kroach hadashim. And this was something that would indicate how brilliant the rabbis were. Amalahu dainu li. Achashverosh said to the Chachamim, judge Vashti for me. What should I do with this woman who refuses and rebels against the king? Amru hechi navid. Amongst themselves they were speaking, what should we do? We're really in a bind. Nemalei ktala, if we encourage him to put her to death, lemachar pasikle chamre uboila minat. Tomorrow, when he sobers up, he's going to demand it from us. He's going to blame us that it was because of us that he put it to death. And he's going to regret and hold us responsible. Nemale shavke, if we say let it go, kamizalzala b'malchusa. After all, she undermines the royal king, and why are we defending her? That, in a sense, demeans the crown. So Amrulo, to sort of extricate themselves from this predicament, they turned Achashverosh and they said, from the day that our Migdash was destroyed and we were sent into exile, Nitla Eitzo Mimenu, the ability, the wisdom to recommend, to give counsel to others has been taken away from us. And for sure, we cannot judge in capital cases. Go to Ammon and Moab, who are settled in their places, like wine that sits on its sediment. In other words, they have not experienced any sort of upheaval. Their wise men have calm, peace of mind. They can make a decision. They can judge properly. So the Gemara says the following: "V'taima amrule." Did the rabbi say something that was reasonable? The Chsiv, the pasuk says in Yirmiyahu Hanavi, "Ta'anein Moav minu urav v'shokedu eshmarav." Moab has been at ease from its youth, and he is settled on his sediment. V'lo hurak mikli el kli uvagolo lo halach. He has not been poured from one vessel to another, nor has he gone into exile. Al kain amad taimo bo v'recho lo nomo. His taste has remained in him. His scent has not changed. So now the impression we get is that Taima Amrule means that they gave him the right, reasonable answer. Miyad, Achashverosh follows their advice, and Vakorov Elov Karshanot Shesar Admasa Tarshish. And apparently, these individuals mentioned here in the Pasuk are advisors. They are not Torah sages. We're going to darshan this entire pasuk, says Rab Levi, as alluding to different parts of karbanos, of the sacrifices. Karshana, Amru Malachi Hashos Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, Klum Hikrivu Lefanecha. Karim B'nei Bakar B'nei Shana. Kiderech Shekrivu Yisrael Lefanecha. Not familiar with that word. he translates it here as, did the Gentiles ever offer before you lambs of the first year, as the Jews have offered before you? We're talking about the Korban Tamid. Shesar klum ekrivu lefanecha shtei torim. Did the Gentiles ever offer before you 2 torim, as the Jews have? And these are the 2 torim that are brought in certain circumstances, like a korban olav yored and so forth. And masa klum bo lefanecha mizbach adama. Did the goyim ever build before you an altar of earth? Tarshish klum shimshu lefanecha b'bigdei kahuna. Diktivu Tarshish v'shalom v'yochpei. Meres klum mersu b'dam lefanecha. They stir the dam, so it wouldn't be dam shenikrash. Marsana klum mersu b'minchos lefanecha. Did the goyim ever stir the mincha offerings before you, as Jews have? Memuchan klum mechinu shulchan lefanecha. Did they ever, the goyim, prepare a table before you, as the Jews have? Yomi memuchan. Just 1 second. Let me just. There's a footnote on this that I want to call for your attention. No, I don't find the footnote. Maybe now I'll find it. Let's see. He says, "Dorshu pasuk zel am yisrael shekrovim el hakadosh baruch hu b'zchutz hakarbanos shemakrivim. Dahainu she'ein tzarich lahotzi hamikra b'pshuto lefarish v'akarov miloshen karban el nitan l'kayim shneim. Sham yisrael krovim lashem b'zchutz hakarbanos." So this is a remez to the fact that the people of Israel are karov to Hashem because of the karbanos. And that would be like a tefillah to Hashem at this critical moment in Jewish history. Vayomer memuchan, ana memuchan zeh Haman. V'lama nikra shmo memuchan shemuchan leparanos. He's prepared or designated for his own paranos, meaning he's going to be killed. It could be, it means that he's going to cause others to die, and especially in this case, Vashti. Amar Kahana keman mikan shahejot kofetz barosh. Rav Kahana calls Haman a hejot, a boar, and he leaps to the front. Memuchan is mentioned last in the pasuk, and therefore it indicates that he is the least important of them all. And yet he jumps up to answer Achashverosh first. Leos call each sorer b'beis, every man should rule in his house. Omar Rava, ilmole igros harishonos l'ishtayr misonem shel Yisrael sorer upolit. These are the first letters that were sent out, and the content of these letters is going to save Klal Yisrael. Because if not for these letters, there would not have remained any survivors amongst the, again, a euphemism, the enemies of the Jews. And now the Gemara wants to analyze, how did this first letter avert such a catastrophe? Amri mai hai dishadir lon lios kol ish sorer bebeisam. When the people saw the first letter, they said, what kind of command is it? That he's sending us a command that every man should rule in his own house? Pshita. That's obvious. Afilu karcha bevese, even a lowly weaver, hardashcha lehevi, should be an authority, should be the head in charge of his own house. So what kind of royal decree and edict is being sent around is foolish. And therefore they didn't pay any attention to the second edict, which caused for the destruction of the Jews. On the 13th of Ad. So if it hadn't be that the credibility of royal edicts was questioned on the first round, then the enemies of the Jews would have pounced upon the opportunity to destroy the Jews. They wouldn't have even waited for the 13th of Adar. Vayafked Hamelech Pkidim, and the king appointed officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together every beautiful young maiden, and Achashverosh followed this advice. Omar Rav, my dechsiv, what does it mean when it says, Kol arum yase b'das uksil yifros iveles. Every prudent man acts with knowledge, but a fool spreads out his folly. That's the seal of the fool. Now the Gemara wants to know, who is the fool who exemplifies a smart man, but a fool? Kol orim yaseh b'das. Every prudent man acts with knowledge. That applies to Melech David. Tichsiv vayomru lo avadav yivakshu ladoni hamelech nara besula. So the people understood that the king sought only one maiden, as the pasuk indicates, nara besula, one single young maiden. Kol ma'dahavi lebarta Isa Niela. Anyone who had a daughter brought their daughter to him, and each one wanted his daughter to be chosen for the king. Uksil Yifrosh Iveles, Yifros Iveles, Zachashverosh. A fool spreads out his folly. This applies to Achashverosh, to Siva Yafked Amel Pkidim. Let the king appoint officers and gather all the maidens of the kingdom. And the people saw that Achashverosh wanted every maiden brought to his palace for him to live with, yet he would, in the end of the day, take only one of them as a wife. Kolman dahavi lebrata itmara mine. Whoever had a daughter hid her from him. In other words, nobody wanted to, he says here, whoever had a daughter hid her from him. Let's just see if he adds a note here. Kol misha islo bas haisa machbia mishluchei hamelech shekain kidim hainu nogsim umemunim bechazka umashma mikach shehutzuchu lachufes anoshim litein lemes benoseya. He doesn't tell you why. Maybe because they were afraid their destiny would ultimately be the same as Vashti's. Micah Omar. What's the point of this pasuk? If it's coming to explain the yichus, the genealogy of Mordechai, liyachsevi ozel ad binyamin, it would have to go through the Seder Yuchsin all the way back to Binyamin ben Yaakov, which it doesn't say over here. Ella Maishno Hani Manishtanu Avosa of Elu, and it says Yoresh Shimi V'Kish. These three are mentioned. Tana, the Gemara answers, we have a brisa that Kulam al Shmo Nikru. That these are the many names of Mordechai. These are all sorts of kinuyim for Mordechai. So let's go through them. We have Ben Yair is Ben Cheher Einem Shel Yisrael B'Tfilasa. The son of Yair, he was a son who brightened the eyes of the Jews through his prayer. Ben Shimi Ben Sheshama El Tfilasa. He was the son of Shimi, who was the son whose prayers God heeded. Ben Kish Shehikish Al Shari Rachmim V'Niftachu Lo. He was the son of Kish, for he knocked on the gates of mercy, and they were opened for him. Karilei Yehudi, it says in the pasuk Ish Yehudi Alma mi Yehuda Kaasi. He came from the Shevet Yehuda. The Karilei Yemini, but the pasuk says that he was an Ish Yemini Alma mi Binyamin Kaasi. Amar Rav Nachman Mordechai Mukhtar Benimuso Haya. He was crowned with his names. In other words, the honorable names of both his father's and his mother's tribes. The Gemara explains. Amar Rabba bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, Aviv mi Binyamin ve'imo mi Yehuda. His father was from Shevet Binyamin, his mother from Yehuda. So usually we don't mention the origin in terms of a person's mother's tribe. But in the case of Mordechai, this was an honor to him that his mother came from Shevet Yehuda. Because the tribe of Yehuda was royalty. For Abanan Amri, Mishpachos, Miskaros, Zu B'Zu. The families of Yehuda and Binyamin would vie one with the other for the credit of Mordechai's birth. Mishpachas Yehuda Omeres Anah Gorim de Misyalid Mordechai. The family of Yehuda would say, I caused that Mordechai be born, to Lokatle David L'Shimi ben Gera, because King David refrained and didn't kill Shimi ben Gera, who is apparently an ancestor of Mordechai. And Shimi deserved to be executed for cursing King David, yet David did not kill him. He descended from me. Rav Amar Knesset Yisrael Amar Le'idach Kisa. The congregation of Israel said the opposite. They assigned the blame, not the credit, for Mordechai's birth to Yehuda and Binyamin. They considered Mordechai the source of their troubles. Ra'u me'asa li Yehudi u'mashilim li Yemini. Look what a son of Shevet Yehuda has done to me, and an offspring of Shevet Binyamin paid me. Ma asa li Yehudi. What did this Yehudi from Shevet Yehuda do to me? And here we're on the top of Daf Yud Gimel, Delokatle David Lishimi, that King David did not kill Shimi. Disyalimine Mordechai de Mikane Bey Bahama. And as a result of the fact that David HaMelech had mercy on Shimi and didn't put him to death, we now have this Mordechai who provokes Haman by not bowing down to him, causing all that troubles. Umashilim liyamini, and what did Binyamin pay me? Lokatle Shaul Agag, Disyalimine Haman, Dimitzayr Yisrael. So as a result of Shaul, who had compassion and didn't kill Agag, what we have today is Haman, who is oppressing the Jews. Now God had commanded King Shaul to eradicate the nation of Amalek, but Shaul spared Agag, king of Amalek, did not kill him, and Shmuel soon remedied this failure by personally killing Agag, but Agag had already fathered a child in the interim from whom Haman was descended. Rabbi Yochanan Amar li Olam mi Binyamin Kaasi. Rabbi Yochanan says that Mordechai actually descended from Binyamin. Amai Kari le Yehudi al Shum shekafar bi'avodah zarah. He repudiated idolatry, did not bow down to Haman, who made himself an object of worship. Whoever rejects idolatry is called a Yehudi. Yehuda's name was meant to incorporate the letters of God's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Kedichsiv Isai Guvrin Yehudoy. As it's written regarding Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah, they are Yehudim. Because they do not serve Nebuchadnezzar's gods, they don't bow down to the golden image, and therefore, since they don't get involved at all in Avodah Zarah, the Kofar Avodah Zarah, therefore, they are called Yehudim. And the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin records a machlokas between Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani as to whether Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah were from the tribe of Yehuda. Our Gemara reflects the view that they were not from the tribe of Yehuda, and therefore this verse, this passage refers to them as Yehudaim because they repudiated and rejected idolatry. So this is where we're going to stop for today.